freedom of speech is vital in a free society. It's the reason it's the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights. And freedom of speech is just your ability to express your thoughts. Freedom of thought. I can think what I want to think. I can say what I want to say, as long as I'm not acting violently or destroying somebody's property or anything like that. I can do those things. But that's not really the way we're trending as a country. We're starting to see people that want to suppress freedom of speech. We've seen this on the left. You're not allowed to, speak out against, trans or gays or other protected classes of minorities. Even so, your right to say that you don't like trans is the same right that gives them the right to be trans. You know what I mean? Like it's that freedom that you're allowed to think what you want to think. You're allowed to say, like, you're not harming anybody. So we've seen that on the left. Well, now you're seeing it coming from the right through this group called the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. And they've got what's called the working definition of antisemitism. It's been adopted by 37 states at this point through either adoption of resolutions or executive orders. And it is non-binding at this point, meaning that you can't be jailed or you can't be fined for, basically violating this definition of anti-Semitism. But it is going to be considered, like, if your company, or like, let's say you worked for a government agency and you maybe violated this, it would be considered anti-Semitic and you could potentially lose your job, and it sounds innocuous enough. It's anti-Semitism. Like, it wants to stop anti-Semitism. I don't have any issue with that at all. Like, anti-Semitism is an issue, and it's definitely on the rise. And a lot of that has to do with negative policies that you're seeing coming out of the Israeli government. And because of that, it's making a lot of people, it's kind of helping gin up that anti-Semitic rhetoric. It's helping people like your Nick Fuentes and other people that are doing the identity politics thing and trying to kind of or agitate people against Jewish people. So there's policies and there's things that are doing that. And if you ask me, this working definition of anti-Semitism will actually create more people. It will lead to more people being anti-Semitic. And I'm going to go over like the definition here from their website, and some of the things that it claims are considered anti-Semitic and why I think that would actually lead to a rise in anti-Semitism. So it does a whole list here of items that they consider to be anti-Semitic. And here's one of the ones that I think is problematic. So making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews, such as the power of Jews as a collective, especially but not exclusively the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy, or of Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or other societal institutions. So, again, I'm not saying that that's true, but I'm saying that people have the right to say and think what they want. If you want to say that you believe that Jews are controlling the media, that's your right to think or say that. I don't understand how that could be criminal. It goes on to say that you deny the fact, scope, mechanisms, for example, the gas chambers, or intentionality of the genocide of the Jewish people at the hands of the National Socialist Germany and its supporters and accomplices during World War II, the Holocaust. Again, I'm not saying that the Holocaust didn't happen. I'm not saying that it didn't happen according to the official narrative that we've all been told. But I'm saying if you want to question that, you absolutely have the right to question it. If you want to deny that it happened, you absolutely have the right to deny that it happened. The fact that this is being considered put into law, and like I said, this is not a law right now, but it could be. So You have the right to question or deny the Holocaust. You have the right to question, just like, do people have the right to question or deny the fact that the main reason for the Civil War was slavery? Well, absolutely. That should definitely be allowed, right? If you want to be able to actually have freedom of speech, debate, and actually engage on these issues, you have to be able to say whatever it is that you think. Now, again, I'm not saying which side is right. I'm not saying which side is wrong. I'm just saying that both sides need to be able to have the freedom to say and present their case. So it says, drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of the Nazis. So, for example, if you were to say that you thought Israel was committing a genocide against the people of Gaza, then you are an anti-Semite. Now, there's lots of NGOs and other organizations that have declared that what Israel is doing in Gaza is a genocide. So does that mean that they're all anti-Semitic? No, it means that they're just observing what's going on and they're saying, hey, this is a genocide. That doesn't mean that they're anti-Semitic. And so now what we're seeing is basically nudging. You know, I've talked about him before, Cass Sunstein. He wrote the book Nudge, and it's kind of like, okay, I'm not going to be an advocate for authoritarian government, but he says, let's make policy that kind of nudges people in the direction that we want them to go and try to get them to do that on their own. So basically, let's create policy like this working definition of anti-Semitism and kind of just nudge people to stop saying these things and stop doing these things. And then whenever you don't do or you don't nudge in the direction that they want you to go, then they're going to come with more authoritarian laws and restrictions in order to get you to do exactly what they want you to do. Here's another one. Accusing the Jews as a people or Israel as a state of inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust. So see, in that part, they demonstrate that Jews as a people and Israel as a state are separate things. And they are separate things. The government of Israel is not representative of every Jewish person in the world. So I would say that, yeah, like when you make a blanket statement that like, oh yeah, the Jews are exaggerating the Holocaust, like a blanket statement like that, you could be like, yeah, okay, it's anti-Semitic. Now, again, you have the right to be racist. Freedom of speech is protected under the First Amendment, or hate speech is protected under the First Amendment. But saying that you can't be critical of Israel as a state or say that the government of Israel is exaggerating. What if the government of Israel at some point in the future does exaggerate the Holocaust? I'm not saying that they've done it now, but let's just say 100 years from now, as we become more removed from historical events, the Israeli government starts embellishing the numbers. What if they were like 100 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust? You know, and so in the future, people wouldn't be able to, you know, accuse the government of Israel. Like, we should be able to criticize all governments of whatever. I mean, we're able to speak out against our own government and say whatever we want about them, but now we're not able to say that we have an issue with policies of the Israeli government. And that's really what this all comes down to, is when you're telling people there's certain things that they can and can't talk about, it kind of makes them think like, well, that's weird. Like, I never even really questioned the Holocaust before, but now you're telling me that I can't. So if you're telling me that why are you telling me that I can't even question these things? So that's why I think that this will have unintended consequences of maybe creating more anti-Semitism than it's going to get rid of. And then it says here, anti-Semitic acts are criminal when they are so defined by law. For example, denial of the Holocaust or distribution of anti-Semitic materials in some countries. And it is like there's some countries where you can be fined and you can potentially go to jail if you like European countries. I mean, and it's not just anti-Semitism. We're seeing this, in Britain. If you pray outside of an abortion clinic, they're fining you. Like they're saying that you're, even if you're like not protesting, like, okay, they're saying that prayer is the protest, but like not standing outside of an abortion clinic with a sign, not yelling at people, not trying to intimidate people. But if you're just standing outside of an abortion clinic praying, you can be fined. This woman silently praying, they're saying that her intent is hateful or trying to harm somebody else, when it's just her worshiping the way that she wants to worship. And the more that we move into governing and restricting the way that we think and the way that we speak, and trying to deny us the ability to ask questions, we can question anything, but that's one of my favorite quotes from Thomas Jefferson. He talked about, I'm going to question with boldness even the existence of a God. That right there. If I've got the right to question the existence of God, which I've done, and I do believe in God, I have a strong belief in God, the creator. I don't necessarily adhere to any specific religion, but I believe in God. But if I have the ability to question the existence of God, then I can question the policies of another government, or I can question the accuracy of historical reporting of events. I can question, I can think, I can say and do whatever I want to do without fear of repercussion or, bad consequences from the government, because the government doesn't have the ability to police my thoughts, and they don't have the ability to police my speech. At least if you believe in the First Amendment and freedom of speech. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment.